Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at, well, a really interesting set of sources about a concept the author calls their Bible, leverage.
Specifically time leverage.
Yeah.
And our mission here really is to unpack what that means based on these materials. It's not just about being more productive.
Right. It's about exploring how this idea might offer some, significant insights for your own growth, maybe even help you find a clearer path or a deeper sense of meaning in what you do.
And the sources are pretty engaging. There are these stories of, frankly, massive success happening surprisingly early in life.
Yeah, like in their 30s. And advice that seems almost backwards at first glance.
Exactly. So we want to move beyond just like reading the summary. We want to get to the heart of it. This idea that freeing up your time could be the real wealth.
The key to a more focused, maybe more meaningful life. And these are the sources you, the listener, shared. They're our starting point.
Let's jump right in. There's this central story in the material. Someone who sold their company for, initially it was talked about as $3 billion.
Wow. Though the source clarifies it was actually closer to $1.65 billion, which is still, absolutely staggering for someone in their 30s.
It really is. And what's kind of surprising is their background. You might assume Harvard, Stanford, some kind of prodigy.
But no, the sources say they started out pretty normally, just a regular start in their early 20s.
So what changed? What was the catalyst? Apparently it was one specific book called Leverage.
And interestingly, the author of the material we're digging into says this same book changed their life too, calls it their Bible.
So the core idea from that book, as our sources explain it, is about delegation. But like radical delegation.
Not just stuff you can't do.
No, delegate anything you can do if someone else can also do it well, especially if they can do it for less per hour than you earn.
There's that extreme example they use, almost funny, wanting to delegate even breathing.
Right. It's just to hammer home the point about the absolute value of your own time.
Which really cuts against the grain, doesn't it? Most successful people, entrepreneurs, they start by doing everything.
Oh, absolutely. Working those 15-hour days, grinding it out, doing it all themselves.
Until they hit a wall.
Exactly. And the problem there isn't just being busy. It's having too much work and then struggling to figure out what to let go of. What should I delegate? What shouldn't I?
Leading to mistakes, bottlenecks. The source author even talks about their own struggle trying to manage everything with over 1,000 employees. Just couldn't do it effectively.
And this brings us to that fundamental insight, the one that applies way beyond business.
Time is more important than money.
That's it. The source really emphasizes this. If you secure your time, you can always figure out how to earn money. But time, you can't get that back.
So the implication, if you really embrace this delegation idea, is you can seriously cut down your own direct work hours, maybe down to just 4 hours a day, the source suggests.
Okay, but here's the kicker. What do you do with all that freed up time? It's not just about, more leisure or family time, although that's part of it.
No, the source talks about this concept of living 5 times a day. What does that even mean?
It's about using that freed time to essentially stack focused work blocks. So maybe you work 4 hours, take a break, work another 4 hours, effectively getting maybe 16 hours of high-quality productive work done by leveraging your time.
So it's like using 5x leverage in finance, but for your day, you're multiplying your high-impact time.
Exactly. You free up time from the lower-value stuff to reinvest it into the higher-value, more meaningful work only you can do.
And when you hear about those massive exits, the $1.65 billion, even the $200 million ones the source mentions are legendary. It makes you think this time leverage thing must have some serious power.
Yeah, it suggests a different way of operating entirely. And it goes beyond just the mechanics. The sources talk about this dual personality aspect of the successful person they profile.
Right. This ability to be super focused and professional at work.
Really thorough.
And then completely switch. Be a warm parent, a relaxed friend. The source says it's not fake. It's a skill. Adapting your energy.
Yeah, adapting to the context. And importantly, not treating your family like business contacts. It's about intentionality.
Okay, now, there's this other story from the book Leverage that the source brings up. It's pretty provocative. The software developer
earning $170,000, but outsourcing all his work to China for $35,000.
And keeping the $135,000 difference, doing very little himself.
Yeah, sounds like cheating.
Yeah.
Right? And the source acknowledges that. But they use it as this really extreme example of time leverage. The focus is purely on freeing up time, even if the ethics are questionable in that specific case.
Okay, so that obviously raises the big question, how do you do this well? ethically, sustainably, not like that guy.
And this is where the source says relationships and trust become absolutely critical. You can't just dump tasks on people.
You need shared values.
Exactly. Shared values, shared purpose, shared direction. The people you delegate to need to understand the why behind the task. They need to be able to perform it as well as you would because they're aligned with your vision.
The source uses that example of expanding an academy business. One person trying to run multiple locations alone just gets spread too thin.
Right. You need people who think like you.
Right.
Who share that fundamental code, that mindset. It's not just hiring employees. It's finding people who share the belief, the purpose. Like finding a copy of yourself in terms of values.
It connects to that bigger idea from the book Sapiens that the sources mention. How large groups, like nations or companies,
or even a World Cup team,
are held together by these invisible shared beliefs, a shared story, a shared purpose.
Mm-hmm. And sharing those deep values is what enables massive leverage, like 100x leverage, in an organization. It's not just more hands, it's aligned minds working towards something meaningful together. That's the exponential power.
Okay, so this all sounds great conceptually, but how do you actually start, like practically? What's the first step if you're listening to this and thinking, okay, I want to try this?
The source suggests something really simple to begin with.
Yeah.
Categorize your tasks.
Just make a list.
Yeah, an honest list. What only you can do, your unique skills, your specific role, versus what anyone else could potentially do. The source actually suggests doing this right after listening, before you get distracted.
And this isn't just for entrepreneurs, even in a regular job, right? Like a manager in a growing company.
Absolutely. A manager can delegate tasks that a junior person can handle. That frees the manager up for the higher level strategic thinking, the stuff only they can do.
And companies that are growing, like Google has mentioned, they actually provide more chances for this. People who get good at delegating often get promoted.
Makes sense. They're demonstrating they can handle more responsibility by leveraging others.
But okay, let's tackle the big fear. The elephant in the room. Delegation is scary for a lot of people.
Oh yeah. The fear is huge. What if the quality drops? What if I trust someone and they betray me? What if I waste money?
It's real. So what's the insight here from the sources? It seems to go a bit deeper than just business strategy.
It really does. The source talks about needing the courage to be hurt.
Wow. Explain that.
Well, the safest thing you can possibly do is nothing, right? Stay in bed all day, as the source puts it. You won't achieve anything, but hey, you won't get hurt or betrayed by anyone else's actions either.
But you also won't grow.
Exactly. Growth requires stepping out, taking risks. The source author gets really personal here. They admit to being betrayed hundreds of times.
Hundreds. That's rough.
Yeah. And they talk about a time they just shut down emotionally to avoid more pain.
Mm-hmm.
But then they realize something crucial.
What was that?
The closing off actually stopped their company's growth. Because they weren't being open, weren't being vulnerable enough to really empower their team, to share a vision that inspired people to grow themselves.
So the takeaway is, you have to be willing to open your heart. Willing to risk getting hurt if you actually want to grow, whether it's a business or just yourself.
That seems to be the core message. It's like that Dale Carnegie banker example they mentioned. Again, the one who reviewed his mistakes. You learn from the hurts, the failures. But you can only learn if you put yourself in a position where they can happen. It's about finding meaning through that vulnerability, not by avoiding it.
So how do you build this into a practice? What habits help?
Well, the habit the source author credits with really changing things for them is regular review and reflection.
Like that banker spending 3 hours every Sunday looking back at his week, making that incorrect answer notebook.
Exactly like that. The author does something similar, but daily. After work, review the day, see what went well, mark it O, what didn't, mark it X, then adjust the plan for tomorrow. It's a constant learning loop.
And the sources keep hammering this point. You have to practice delegation to get better at it, even though it feels risky.
Mm-hmm. Even knowing quality might dip at first, or you might feel you wasted money, or you might get let down. That's how you learn. That's where the real leverage starts, through the messy process.
And it's important to remember, this isn't just for millionaires. You can start small, right? Even with a modest income.
Absolutely. The source gives the example of someone earning, say, $2,500 a month. Maybe you delegate cleaning. Costs $50 a week, so $200 a month. You have $2,300 left.
Yeah, but the immediate thought is, I could clean myself in 10 minutes. Why pay $50?
Right. That's the mindset barrier. But the source insists. What do you do with that freed up hour or two? If you just watch YouTube, it's pointless.
It has to be productive time.
Yes. Time spent on growth. Reading, thinking, planning, learning something new. They even mentioned taking a taxi instead of driving, even if it costs $400, $500 a month.
Why?
To free up that commute time for reading or focused thinking, you're buying back productive, high-value time.
The author even shares their own early story, earning $2,300 tutoring and outsourcing the typing of teaching materials for $5 a page.
Yeah, using that free time to study more or listen to online lectures, it's applying the principle early on.
So it really comes down to breaking that mental block. Even if you can do it yourself, practice delegating, develop the habit.
Develop the habit, yes. Because that habit is what allows you to expand later. But, and this is the crucial part, you must reinvest that freed time productively, not just for more leisure. That's where the focus and ultimately the meaning comes from, consciously choosing to use your time for growth and contribution.
And to really drive home the potential impact, the sources give some amazing examples, big names.
Yeah, like Oprah Winfrey. Started alone, hit her limits fast.
So she leveraged, delegated production, interviews, marketing, built a whole team. Why?
So she could focus intensely on her unique gift, her vision, connecting with people, telling those powerful, inspiring stories. That delegation, that aligned team, built an empire focused on her core purpose.
Would Oprah be Oprah today if she tried to do it all herself?
Seems incredibly unlikely, doesn't it? Then there's Elon Musk at Tesla.
Super hands-on at first.
Right. But realized he couldn't scale production, design, software all by himself at the level he wanted. So he delegated huge chunks to experts who shared his, let's be honest, audacious vision.
Allowing him to focus on the big picture, the innovation, the strategy.
And the sources argue Tesla's innovation wouldn't have happened without that kind of strategic delegation to empowered people.
And Sarah Blakely at Spanx started selling from her apartment.
Got totally burned out. So she leveraged, delegated production, distribution, marketing, freed herself up.
Freed herself up to focus on the brand, the vision, that customer connection only she could provide initially, and became a billionaire.
Synthesizing these. It's powerful. Delegating the stuff others could do allowed them to pour all their energy into their unique contribution, their highest value work.
And often, by building teams aligned around a shared purpose, they achieved incredible scale and impact, far beyond what one person could ever do alone. They found a way to make their unique mark, which seems deeply meaningful.
Absolutely. So, bringing it back home, for you listening, the sources really push you to reflect. What in your life could you potentially delegate, no matter your income?
Even just one small thing.
Even one small thing, to free up that time and energy, not just to be more efficient, but maybe to focus more on what's uniquely you.
To embrace that vulnerability needed for real growth by trusting others. And maybe, just maybe, create something more significant, more aligned with their own sense of purpose.
So that's our deep dive into time leverage based on these sources, the core idea. Strategically letting go of tasks others can do.
To free yourself. To focus on your highest value activities, your unique contributions, the things that truly bring meaning to your work and life.
And remembering that doing this effectively takes courage. It takes vulnerability. And it takes discipline to use that reclaimed time wisely for growth.
But the potential upside, profound growth, real impact, a more focused and meaningful life, seems immense.
So the final thought we want to leave you with is this. What could you achieve? What kind of growth, what kind of meaning could you unlock if you dared to delegate what holds you back and focused intensely on what only you can do?
Something to think about.